Well, for me, it was Shirley Chisholm. She was the first African American female to actually be a part of Congress and then eventually ran for president for a particular party. And I just love her tenacity in the midst of racism and separatism and discrimination, how she didn't let nothing stop her. So I appreciated so much Shirley Chisholm and her march for equality and education and the rights of all human beings.
In addition to Shirley Chisholm, as a child of the civil rights movement, a young child, I actually saw Fannie Lou Hamer campaign relentlessly and fearlessly to get voting rights for African American citizens in the deep, very segregated South at the time, Mississippi. Not only for voting rights, but rights for the poor and the disabled. She lived with a limp that she received as a result of a beating by law enforcement. Her life was threatened over and over again, but that did not deter her. And you may have heard the saying, tired of being sick and tired. That was Fannie Lou Hamer, and she didn't give up. And not only was she an advocate for voting rights, but also for disabilities, and died probably about 13 years before the national statutes and law for disabilities was passed. I also saw and was mesmerized by not only Shirley Chisholm, who came to the Congress in, I believe, around 68. She was soon followed by Congresswoman Yvonne Braithwaite Burke, the first African American to serve out of the state of California, who too was an advocate for civil rights, women's rights, rights for the poor, first woman to have a baby while in Congress. She was followed several years later by the eloquent Barbara Jordan, who campaigned again for civil rights, women's rights, rights for disability, participated very strongly during the impeachment hearings for president. None of us had ever seen that to that date. So when you say woman, there are so many. I had to answer it in the plural. And those are the people that I saw as a result of television. There were innumerable other women who did the same thing on local levels. I just didn't see them. But had one TV, so we watched the news with our parents, and I was just intrigued by what I saw. And I knew I was watching history in the making with those women. At least two of those women were attorneys. Now, I don't know that I had any idea or desire to serve in an elected position, but I can tell you, before seeing them, I was already committed, say grade school level probably, to being an attorney.
As Commissioner Townsend has said, I mean, there are so many women in history that you can look at. But one that came to mind for me was Amelia Earhart. She's a Kansan, which I have a deep appreciation for. And, you know, she was breaking the norms in almost every aspect of what she was involved with from a very young age. To start out with, her home was not necessarily pleasant, I imagine. There were issues and illnesses. And, you know, as a young child, she's grappling with that and living with that. And then as she's growing up, she's studying engineering and topics that maybe were not necessarily readily available to women. And I think most people know her for the fact that we lost her But everything up to that point was norm breaking. And it's very impressive. And I think it's good for young women as they are contemplating what their future could hold to know that really anything is possible. And the thing that I take some hope for her is whatever those last moments were, I feel like she was probably living her dream. And so I guess that gives me some comfort, even though we lost her at a young age, and you wonder what more could have come for her. But I like the way that she clearly set her goals and then took the steps to achieve them, even in the face of those types of professions not really being available to women.